If you've bought this course, or if you're weighing up buying this course and think it looks okay, you might be wondering to yourself, why, if everything else looks okay, is this course not certified or accredited? If it's really substantial and the guy's got experience in the field and he's a professional and all the rest of it, why is he not bothered to get it certified and accredited, and why is he not calling it a diploma or a certificate? Now, I would do those things if making loads of money was all I cared about. But there are other things that are inconvenient, but I think are really important. Things like truth and things like ethics. Really, really inconvenient sometimes if all you want to do is make loads of money, but they are important, and I don't think I'd be comfortable doing those things due to my belief that the truth is important and that ethics are important as well. And we're going to explore this in a bit more detail in this video. One quite good way of exploring it, I think, is to imagine how I would go about dressing it up so I can make a bit more money from it. If I didn't care about truth, if I didn't care about ethics, but I did want to stay within the confines of the law, in the United Kingdom at least, which is where I'm from, let's have a think about what I can do. The first thing I would do, I wouldn't call myself David Hanson. I would turn myself into a college or a university even, the National Counselling University or the National Institute of Therapeutic whatever. Something that sounds like it's got gravitas. I think that would rope more people in than just my name. The next thing I'd do would be to call myself a doctor. It's widely known, I think at least within the profession, that counsellor and psychotherapists aren't protected titles. So I can call myself those things, and I can be professionally recognised by professional bodies and by other people because I've taken the appropriate courses. However, legally, anyone can call themselves those things. Now, that also applies to other things. So psychologist, I can call myself a psychologist if I want to. I haven't done a doctorate in psychology, but I can call myself that legally. And I can even call myself a doctor. Being a medically trained doctor is protected. You can't pretend to be medically trained if you actually aren't. But the title doctor, as long as you avoid pretending to be medically trained, isn't actually a protected title. So we've got ourselves Dr. David Hanson. We've called ourselves a really good sounding name. We also now need to get ourselves certified and accredited. Now, that's going to be quite tricky because the BACP and a lot of the other professional bodies don't really tend to recognise pre-recorded courses as being legitimate ways of training to be a therapist. I think without exception, actually, all the main professional bodies require face-to-face or at least a live interaction with people. The reason for this is because any course on this website, for example, including this course, you could register and you could just tick all the pages as being complete and get your certificate at the end of it without even learning anything. And there's no way for another person to know if you've actually taken on the stuff that's involved in the course or if you've just ticked a load of boxes to get your certificate, because there's no actual interaction and there's no actual, I wouldn't say genuine, assessment of your actual knowledge and competencies. So just to give an example of this, I'm on the BACP website, which is the largest professional body for counselling and psychotherapists in the UK, and it outlines here one of their requirements to join their membership is for your training to have been delivered face-to-face for the majority of the hours. For your training to involve having genuine clients, usually you need at least 100 hours with clients in order to qualify from a training course which will be recognised by a professional body. These might differ slightly across the main professional bodies, but not by much. Any professional body widely recognised and accepted as being a legitimate part of the profession will require majority of your hours to be face-to-face, certainly not pre-recorded. It's worth saying also that the professional bodies that are widely recognised and accepted within the profession, or at least in the UK, are accredited by the Professional Standards Authority, which has links with the government and Parliament and basically upholds standards for the different professions. And if you want to check a practitioner in psychotherapy, you can go on here. There it is, psychotherapy. Let's go. And these are all the accredited registers for counselling and psychotherapy. So BACP, for example, is on there. So BACP upholds standards in the profession. So as a member of BACP, you're accountable for them. BACP themselves, meanwhile, are accountable to the Professional Standards Authority because they agree to abide by the standards that they set. And this is not a surefire way of knowing that the course you're doing or the practitioner that you are working with is legitimate. It's not a surefire way of doing it, but it does show that that person is accountable. So if they're doing anything completely unethical, you can hold them accountable by getting in touch with their accrediting body. These professional standards and checks and balances and so on, I think are really, really important in upholding the standards of the profession. It's a really important profession, often working with really vulnerable people, and we need to make sure that the people who are working with really vulnerable people in a therapeutic capacity are competent to do so. These efforts are really, really vital in doing that. However, for the purpose of this thought experiment, they are an obstacle. They are annoying. They get in the way of my ability to sell this course as being accredited and certified. We're not going to let that stop us though. We're going to do it anyway. And there's two ways in which we can do it. A, we can find a professional body or a accreditation organisation that doesn't care about educational standards, that doesn't care about anything actually other than making money. Just like I only care about making money, there are people out there that have created certifying authorities or accreditation authorities that will certify any old course if you give them enough money to do so. And that will give me the veneer of legitimacy, and I'll then be able to describe the course as certified and accredited by the whatever organisation this is. The other option, and I think this is even better, is to create our own certifying authority. Let's call it the Global Counselling Guild. The Global Counselling Guild, I'll create it, I'll create a website for it, and then without paying anyone anything, without even involving any other human being in the whole process, I can call this course certified and accredited by the Global Counselling Guild. And I'll link to the Global Counselling Guild website. I'll create a website in a couple of hours and make it look not even particularly legitimate, but just passable, and we're golden. We have a person-centred counselling diploma offered by Dr. David Hansen in association with Counselling International University and accredited and certified by the Global Counselling Guild. That is hard to resist. That sounds incredible. Of course, it's complete rubbish, which anyone doing a course like that will realise as soon as they try to go into the profession, and there will be no doors open to them. I've been in the profession. I've been a tutor on a diploma, and people have applied for the diploma with courses that are certified and accredited by organisations that sound like the Global Counselling Guild. And there's no way of knowing if that person knows anything, because if it's a pre-recorded online course, like I said, they can just tick the boxes and get the certificate within 2 minutes of enrolling. There's no way of knowing what they actually have learned and what competencies they have. And most people in the profession, at least in the UK, are familiar with this. So people like interviewers, if someone applies for a job with this kind of certificate, they probably won't get very far. And I think actual universities or colleges offering counselling courses won't think much of it either. However, because counsellor and psychotherapist aren't protected titles, at least in the UK, there's nothing stopping them legally from going out there and practicing. A quite scary example of this is the fact that there is a certified and accredited course that I found online where it claims to certify and accredit and qualify a person to counsel children. However, the course is made up of a single 45-minute video, basically. So off the back of doing a course like that, someone legally could go out there and advertise themselves as a children's therapist. And the best way of thinking about how worrying this is to turn it round a little bit and imagine yourself having children, and you imagine one of your children needing mental health support. Maybe you want to find a therapist to help them figure things out and improve their mental health. Please do the research into the therapist that you find. Don't roll the dice by sending your kid to a therapist whose training amounts to a 45-minute pre-recorded video. They might not do harm, but they might do. There's no way of knowing either way because they're not accountable to anyone. They've not done a course that actually checks what competence they have. They could just be a random person who perhaps is a little bit of an egomaniac and thinks that they don't need to do the proper courses because they're so amazingly good. These people are harmful if that is the case. It might be someone who doesn't know any better. Either way, you are playing dice with your kids' mental health. And equally, you'd be playing dice with your own mental health if you go into someone without doing the research into what professional body they're a part of, what training courses they've done, and so on. And that's when this whole situation becomes really important, and that's why I'm making this video, because people can be harmed by this kind of stuff. This isn't just a random person making money. This is really serious, and this ultimately is why this course is a guided tour of person-centered counselling and psychotherapy. Harm being done to vulnerable people is something that concerns me, and while I can't entirely prevent it, because people may well just do this stuff, I need to get it out there and need to make clear what this course is good at, and specifically what the limits are for what you can actually do with this course. So in summary, final thoughts now. This course cannot equip you alone to go out there and counsel people. Please don't do it. And if you are going to do it, please don't act like I've said that's okay. I haven't said that's okay. It's not okay. And I know that I'm leaning in the opposite direction to a lot of similar courses that are online by being honest about this, but that's because, as well as maybe making a bit of money if that's possible, I also care about not harming people, or at least not contributing towards other people harming people. I please don't harm people. This course can't equip you alone to become a therapist. And please, if you've watched this video, please don't pretend that you haven't, and don't pretend that it can equip you. Please go out and do a proper course if you actually want to be a therapist.